the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Catholic. I'm Jen Mauro, and with me, as always, Mike Walsh.
And if you want to tune out now, I'll understand.
Wait, right before we came on, Mike's like, we're going to be more positive. And then that's the first thing that comes out of your mouth.
No, I just want to warn everybody now, there's no guest this week. It's just the two of us. So if you really can't stand listening to the two of us, I'm just letting you know now. It doesn't get any better. Unless you're listening on domestic church media, in which case we're going to put a tag on the end of this, which is our, we have this Talking Saints broadcast. Maybe I'll put it into the regular podcast feed too, even though it just came out. Sure. But we're going to have the our most recent episode of Talking Saints up there, which was probably on a really cool saint.
Probably.
You know, the sad part is, as I've gotten older, my memory has now just decided to completely leave me. And I now have my notes app on my phone is filled with so many different things just to make sure that I remember what we're talking about. Angela Merici.
I was going to say, I pulled it up, but I knew I would butcher the name, so might as well let you do it.
Saint Angela Merici. She is actually was a fascinating tale. So I do hope that folks will stick around and listen to that because I can't promise the next few minutes of this are going to be any good, but that Talking Saints is outstanding. Let's submit this one to the awards already. I did that this week. I submitted our awards to the Catholic Media Association. You actually gave me 4 suggestions for people for best podcast to submit for their judging. Yeah. And I added one more to round out the 5. And actually looking back on it, we I don't really think about the Catholic Media Association Awards until, let's face it, the last day that they're due. And so that's my day to go back and sort of realize what we worked at. We did a lot of great work last year. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. And I don't mean me and you. I mean the communications department for the Diocese of Camden and the Catholic Star Herald was really, we were very effective last year. Actually, let's tell people right now, we got a great compliment that meant a lot to me, that there's a convent in Ireland that our friends, the CFR sisters, run. And they get a subscription to our Catholic Star Herald, and they were so kind to let us know that that was their primary source of Catholic news. Because the nature of the CFR is they don't have internet, they don't have television, they don't have. I mean, it's a semi-monastic life, but they get our paper. And being in Ireland, which has less of a Catholic imprint than it used to, we were the ones giving them all of their international Catholic news and national Catholic news and then local Catholic news. So it was a reminder of just how important our vocation is. It really meant a lot to me.
Wait, so you're saying our paper is the only one they get? Like it's basically the only news they get?
That is how it was described to me by a somewhat unreliable source.
I think it was a very reliable source, actually. And I think that's amazing. That actually, that makes me feel really good. Yeah. Personally.
I tell you, we joke around about Catholic communicators and stuff. Oh, wait a second. What is this month? This isn't this Catholic I thought Catholic Journalist Month?
Yes. It's actually Catholic Press Month.
Okay.
Yes. So the fact that Catholic Press Month is February. Yeah. And so it is quite coincidental that you came in and told me about that today with the CFR sisters. Yeah. I thought that was perfect timing.
That is perfect timing. It's for those. I mean, we joke around on this podcast about how quite frequently about how our lives are jaded and difficult because of the nature of our vocation. But to tell you the truth, that actually was very uplifting to hear that news, because we like to hear that, once we put out the newspaper or once we upload the podcast, it's out of our hands. And at that point, people are going to make of it what they make of it. We try to produce the best content we can, but you never know. Some things people may not like. We hear your complaints. But it's nice to get some positive feedback, too. But that one was really touching because it showed the importance of our vocation.
Right. And also, talking about positive feedback, we received an email this week from a listener who really enjoyed the last podcast with Mike Sims on it when he was talking about life and justice.
I was very confused.
Right. And, the listener wrote in.
Wait a second. You didn't respond to him. I didn't respond to him either.
I know. I'm going to. I'm going to today.
Vinny, I apologize. You may be listening to this before you get either one of our emails. Thank you very much for your lovely email. I found it quite confusing, though.
Well, because there were two mics on the podcast.
Yeah, and I thought he was referring to the other mic, but he was actually referring to me. I was like, oh, it is the end times.
You heard it here, listeners. The email was talking about how moving they found Mike Walsh's story. And I was very excited.
I was very surprised. That's unlikely. I believe that may have been the first time in 370 episodes we got that response. But it actually meant a lot, and that was very sweet. And by the way, we're not saying this stuff to pat ourselves on the back. We just want the listeners to know that, number one, we do read your stuff. Mm-hmm. We do see your comments. We do get your complaints. We had a minor screw up in the Diocese of Camden earlier this week on our social media. We put up this beautiful graphic, as a remembrance to St. John Bosco. And one of our very alert people took a look at it after it had been liked and shared and people enjoyed it.
Okay.
To point out that was the wrong saint.
No.
They are very similar looking. It's St. Anton something. But it was in fact the wrong saint. And what we found out was that where we took the image from, that's where the mistake happened. It was actually filed wrong. It was never St. John Bosco, but it was listed under St. John Bosco. Oh. So when we pulled it, not thinking that we had to double check the accuracy of the image, since we were getting it from a known source,
right?
We posted it up, and sure enough, they were right. We checked it out later, and that was in effect not St. John Bosco.
I didn't hear about this.
Yes, so I asked. Matter of fact, I asked Pete Sanchez. I said, "Listen, it was a saint I'd never heard of before." Actually, hold on, let me see if I can once again pull it up on my phone. Mm-hmm. It was a saint I never heard of before, and I said, you know what, on your Talking Saints podcast, can you do me the favor of doing this particular saint, because it would mean the world to me if you could do that. Yeah, it was we accidentally put up. That's right. We accidentally put up Blessed Anton Martin Slomashek. I'm assuming Polish, but but I didn't know anything about him. But he looks a lot like St. John Bosco, so you could see how it got tagged wrong. And so we put a little apology up there, went up, changed it.
Who found out? Was it a reader?
Oh, one of the diocesan followers.
Oh, yeah. You know what? We should. That's pretty good. We should actually have a saint contest. Your
most obscure saint?
Yeah. No, identify the saint and put up 3 pictures. That's
an interesting
actually
idea.
Kind of cool, right?
Well, we do have that new interface, that contest interface on the Catholic Star Herald. That might not be a bad idea.
Could be the next contest.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And that's what I said to this guy. I said, when I responded underneath of the post and said, thank you for alerting us. And I said, you know what? This is an error. This was an error, but errors are opportunities. So we're going to do a Talking Saints episode about it. So sometime in the near future, hopefully, Pete and Laurie will do an episode on Blessed Anton. Sorry.
Oh, Blessed.
Saint. Yeah, no, but they do that. They do Blesseds as well. Yeah. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
It was a funny week this week. What can I say?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so as Mike was speaking about, we, once a year, we submit content from our publication as well as our podcasts and websites to the
Video
Catholic
series.
Yep. What?
Video series. Bishop's letters. All sorts of stuff. There's a lot of submission opportunities.
Right. So we submit them to the Catholic Media Association, and then every summer there's a conference, and which is full of teaching and training and guest speakers, and then awards are announced.
And now you're an expert on this.
Oh, am I?
Well, you went to your first conference last year.
I did go to my first conference last year, and it was in Baltimore. This year's is in
Atlanta, Georgia.
I will not be joining the team this year because we have way too many exciting things on the horizon for the Catholic Star Herald.
But the following year, it'll be in Phoenix, and we probably still won't go. But the year after that, it's going to be in Atlantic City.
Wow,
that's been official and named.
It's official.
It's official. 2026 is in Atlantic City.
Are we breaking news right here on the podcast?
Well, we haven't published it yet, so I'm assuming we have. Bishop received the letter, and 2026.
Okay, that's it, everybody. All journalists listening right now, come to Atlantic City in 2026.
And the best part is, so I'm the conference co-chair this year. I'm the conference chair next year. And hopefully by 2026, I won't have anything to do with it. So it'll be somebody else's job. We'll have
Mike will be on the beach like, hey, cheers.
See you guys. No, we'll have Maria Margiotta from Newark be in charge of it.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. She's great.
She is great.
Let's do it.
But yeah.
Anyways, so speaking about Catholic Press, Catholic Press Month.
You went on and on in the paper about it this week.
I did. I wrote way too long.
Yeah, but it was very nice. Now, listen, folks. I'll tell you what was nice about the article. She is quite dismissive of it, and I understand why. However, here's the thing. Sometimes our columnists and submitters forget that things like whimsy and humor are good to use in a writing situation. And you did a great job of sort of, bringing some life to something that a lot of people don't know about. And I appreciated that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I better go check it out.
I rolled my eyes when you told me you were going to write it, but once I actually read it, it was great.
It was a weird start.
I have to give a lot of credit to the graphic that goes with it. It was put together by Tom O'Shea, our graphic guy. He went for a graphic that the reader themselves might just kind of glance over. He spent a lot of time making sure that graphic was just right.
Mm-hmm. It's a spread of a whole bunch of different Catholic Star Herald.
Front pages.
Yeah. Some of which the photos were taken by you.
Not all of them, though, and I'm a little upset about it.
So, I write about the Catholic Press Month in the column, so please pick it up and read it or check it out online when it's posted. I think it's actually already posted by the time you hear this. But, one of the main things that I speak about in the column is wanting to hear from everybody who reads the Catholic Star Herald, whether it's online or in print. And we have launched a survey because we want your opinion. We want to know what you think about the paper, what kind of news you might want to see more of, or different coverage, or maybe new ideas. Same thing for our advertising. So, we want to encourage everybody to go check out the survey and tell us what you think about the Catholic Star Herald. So go to catholicstarherald.org/2024-survey.
I did it.
Did you?
I really did.
Sweet.
I tore into the advertising department.
Of course you did. But what's kind of neat is that I've been out on a few different events this week because the Diocese of Camden has some pretty cool stuff going on this past week.
They've been popping this week.
And one of them was an amazing presentation by the son. His mother was a survivor of the Holocaust. And I went to hear that on Tuesday night in Cherry Hill at Catholic Community of Christ Our Light. And a few people came up to me and said they had taken the survey already and that they were happy that the survey, that they were being asked their opinion. Mm-hmm. So I was pretty excited to hear that.
Yeah. I keep forgetting I have access to that survey. I could actually look at the early results. But
yeah,
I'm not going
to.
I like to wait till the end because then it jades my opinion if I look at it too soon.
Yeah. Be surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's really good. Go check it out. You just, like I said, just go to Catholic Star Herald. There's a giant ad right on the front. You can't miss it. Click on it. Mm-hmm. And as an added bonus, we will be picking 3 random people for $50 gift cards. 3 $50 gift cards. So if you fill it out, you have a chance to win $50.
Is there a disclaimer up there about not being able to be a diocesan employee?
That is a good question.
Oh, let's hope not. I want that $50. There's
a look on my face like, uh-oh. That's why Mike is the big brain.
Except apparently he's a late big brain. He didn't check that before that went out live. In that case, I'm announcing it now. If you're a diocesan employee, you do not get $50. It was a great week last week. I had the opportunity to go with Bishop Sullivan on 2 trips for Catholic Schools Week. One of them that was absolutely adorable. So I was at Camden Catholic High School on, I guess it was Tuesday, and they have, it was Monday. Mm-hmm. It was Monday. Yeah, they have a club there that makes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the Cathedral Kitchen, which helps feed people in distress. It's a great organization, Cathedral Kitchen, and it's an independent organization, but still has tight ties to the diocese. So anyways, Bishop hanging out with the superintendent of schools and a couple of the teachers and the Catholic Identity Director and I guess 15 students at Camden Catholic. And they just had the best time laughing and goofing around and making the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There were debates on the proper way of making them, which I educated everybody on.
Yes, can you explain to the listeners? Because I was also educated. And in an unusual turn of events, I nodded at my boss and said, I agree with that, actually. That's a good idea.
So, when you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you put peanut butter on one side, you put the jelly on the other side, and the side with the jelly on, particularly if you're going to, this is particularly important if it's going to be it's going to be your lunch for the day, right? So, if you make one right away, sandwich is perfectly fine. But it's got to sit for a little while. That jelly sort of soaks into the bread a little bit, and you can have a soggy bread. So what you do is you put a thin layer of peanut butter on one side, and you put a thin layer of peanut butter on the other side. Well, make it as thick as you want. Doesn't really matter. But just make sure that it's well coated. And then in the middle, you put the jelly. And that way, because the fats of the peanut butter act as a moisture barrier, and the jelly won't sink into the bread.
Okay, so you told me that exactly the same way. Right now, you said this exactly. And what I really appreciate both times is the science behind the fats of the peanut butter.
That's it. Well, that's what it is. The fats are, it's not that they can't be penetrated, but it takes time for them to be penetrated by the moisture of the jam. And therefore, you get a less soggy peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
It's brilliant.
I got to tell you, and I would like to thank Alton Brown from the Food Network for teaching me that stuff, because it also works for hamburgers. You put a slice of cheese on the bottom, you put a slice of cheese at the top, and your juicy hamburger will not soak into the bun.
So what I also like about it is you can tell your influence, because there's a photo gallery online.
By the way, it also works with mayonnaise.
You go, there's a photo gallery online, and Mike took a lot of photos specifically of the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches now being made in this new and exciting way.
Well, some of them adopted the technique, and I was really proud of them.
I like it.
That was really nice. But it was
including, look, I'm looking at the photo gallery now. There is Bishop Sullivan using your technique.
Hey, listen. You know what?
I love it.
When faced with genius, people will wise people will accept the genius.
Oh, jeez. You know what I also liked about that story is we interviewed one of the students from that was making the group that day.
Yeah.
Making the sandwiches, and he said that he also said how much he enjoyed that day. He's like, because no students had their phones out, or because everybody was just having such a good time and hanging out with Bishop and hanging out with Bill Watson, the Catholic schools director, that it was just laughter and nobody looked at their phone because they were just wanted to be. Actually, he actually says, this young student, we wanted to be in the moment. I love that.
Yeah, it was very, very sweet, and I in situations like that I don't interact a lot. But it was such a fun group that, because I'm the photographer and I don't want to throw things off or anything like that. I want people to be themselves, but It was just, I couldn't help it. I felt a part of the event. So it was really nice.
That's because there's food and you're a baker.
That is true. That, there was some truth to that. And then the following day, I went down to Vineland to St. Mary's Elementary School, and where there was another one, but this one was bingo with grandparents, lunch and bingo with the students' grandparents. And that was another just absolutely joyful day. Bishop was there again. The local pastor was there. The principal there, Steve Hogan's a wonderful guy and really knows how to throw an event. But it was the kids running the bingo. I guess it was the 8th graders. Yeah. And they were outstanding. But the thing that truly elevated the event was at one point, the former pastor himself, Bishop Sullivan, from his times in New York, went up and called bingo, and he called it like a true New Yorker with all of the tongue-in-cheek acerbicness that you would hear from stuff like that. Like, it was just really, really funny, and he really got into it. And here's our 79-year-old bishop up there calling bingo, and it was so much fun. But that was the thing; it was such a joyful time, and sometimes I guess I'm kind of fixated on that now. We're not. This is Carnival, right? So we're in the Carnival season, Carnival, depending on where you're from. But this season between Christmas and Lent, which is supposed to be a joyful time, and it reaches its apex on Fat Tuesday, right? And then we hit Lent, and then we have to look within ourselves and really focus on God and a lot of things, and that's not quite, somber is probably not the right word, but solemn is the right word.
Reflective.
Yeah, reflective.
More penitent.
So let's be joyous during this time. Let's, and I'm not saying that in a way, in the sense of be joyous and turn away from God. I'm saying be joyous in the presence of God. Be joyous amongst all of our friends and colleagues and people we don't know. Right. I'm not saying you got to march down the streets of New Orleans in crazy gear, but take this time to be joyful.
Put an extra spring in your step.
Yeah.
Like a step, like a little jaunt, as you will.
Be jaunty.
Yes.
There you go. I like that. So yes, I'm encouraging all of our listeners to enjoy that the joyfulness that comes in this very dark season, but there is in fact joyfulness all around us. Mm-hmm. So we should do that. So yeah. So you actually, the Star Herald rather, got an opportunity to visit one of these displays, which I will admit, I am a poor Catholic in this regard. So I have difficulties with first, second, third class relics. I know what they are, but I've always had difficulty with the spiritual attachment to them. To be honest with you, I've always found it very peculiar that in the Catholic Church, we take saint body parts and just sort of move them around places. But we had a saint's body part in the diocese earlier this week.
We did.
And I got to tell you, these photographs will be submitted to the Catholic Media Association next year.
They're really neat.
Yeah, it was Laurie. What's Laurie's last name?
So it's Laurie Nichols.
Laurie
She's
Nichols.
one of our correspondents, and she was in Northfield. So it was in Northfield on Thursday night, February 1st. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Totally. It's just the beginning of February, and I'm already looking at the end of it. So from what I understand, it was quite a very good turnout. It is, they have bone fragments believed to be from the arm of Saint Jude. They're on display. They have left Italy, I believe, for the first time, and this was the only stop they'll be making in South Jersey, and they came to Northfield.
Yeah, it was impressive, and the photographs themselves were great. I was really impressed by the number of people that went up to the display and venerated it. And you see, Laurie got some great photos of people with their hands in the glass, mm-hmm. and you were explaining to me how third-class relics work.
Right. So this is considered a first-class relic because it's a
body part.
Body part of especially one of the 12 apostles.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is even though you can't physically touch the relic, if you bring a personal item and just touch the glass, it makes the object a third-class relic. So people were bringing rosaries, little saint cards. I saw them placing that next to the glass as well. So
yeah. We have a number of relic experts in the diocese. I think we're going to have them on the podcast at some point.
That
to
would be
explain
good.
It. Well, the St. Joseph's Polish Church, which
mm-hmm.
is the equivalent of a cathedral, if you've ever seen it, has some 200 relics in it, all along the altar rail. It's really amazing to see. I would love to be able to do, maybe we'll do it like a mobile one where we'll actually go and record it. Maybe we'll do some video stuff too, where we can just have someone explaining.
We actually should do that. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I know. They pop out every now and again. It's a good thing we have this thing recorded so we can go back to it because I will forget.
And also, it's on the record. There's witnesses now.
I know.
There's witnesses. Mike Walsh has good ideas.
Thank you. But no, we really should. And there are other locations that have stuff, but that's just the one that's most notable, St. Joe's Polish, which is just actually my son's Scouts religious emblem group will be going there shortly for a full day at that church to see, aside from the beautiful architecture, to get a feel for the. Maybe I should go to that. I was really looking to get out of that, but maybe
I'm going to it. You
Are
know
you
what?
really?
Because I need to cover it, and also for the Catholic Star Herald, I will.
Okay.
So have your son. But also, I've never been to that church in the 2.5 years I've been here. I've been out to the Cape May and all the ones on the shore, and I have not been around the corner and gone to that church.
I was here for 6 years and I didn't make it. It's weirdly, even though it's a mile and a half, 2 miles away from us, it's weirdly off the beaten track to get there. And there's not a lot of parking there either, and it's sort of limited hours. So, and we hadn't hosted anything there. So when we had it was the year of St. Joseph, we did this special novena for each of our St. Joseph associated churches.
Right.
So that was the one we started with. And the first time I walked into it, I still haven't finished beating myself up that it took me so long to get there, because it is just that amazing. I mean, legitimately just that.
Yeah, amazing. I need to go in there. Let's say hold me to that. But I want to do that this winter.
Yeah, because
winter's kind of a bummer time. So I need to go there and be uplifted.
You do need to go there and be uplifted. I've often wondered, when this diocese was created, we were created out of Trenton, 80 some odd years ago. And, the main church in the city was determined to be the cathedral. And our cathedral is a very humble cathedral. It is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Historic even. I mean, it's definitely, it's on the National Register. But it is, when you think of cathedral, you think of St. Patrick's in New York or the Basilica in Philadelphia. Ours would not compare to that. However, St. Joe's Polish Church actually does look something like that. Like what you would imagine in your head a cathedral looking like, that's what it looks like. The painting is beautiful. The stained glass is amazing. So I've always, if I could go back in time, I would like to figure out what they were thinking when they made this one as opposed to that one. The thing. I also don't know why we don't. Our diocese is so large. I'm not sure why we don't have a co-cathedral somewhere.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should get on
We
that.
have a pro-cathedral.
Yeah.
We don't have a co-cathedral.
Co-cathedral.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of work that goes into that. Like the official paperwork and everything that has to go into that. And you have to have a certain number of seats and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just have to write a letter to
that all it takes.
the Vatican.
It's more than that. When I was in the Diocese of Trenton,
that's right.
we had one established while I was working there, and it was an interesting process.
Yeah. Our pro cathedral's across town, and it's not really used in that space anymore. It was built for that purpose, and it's a big facility, but they didn't at the time. It was a different age. It was built in the 50s. And it was a different time of Camden, and you didn't need a lot of parking spaces or anything like that. Well, now it's in a completely residential area, and if we were to hold major events there, it would gridlock that entire neighborhood. So it's just nonsensible to do that. So I never could understand why you didn't have one on this side by the river and one in Atlantic City.
I was going to say
or Cape May.
The idea would have one more central so everybody can get to it.
The biggest church in the diocese is in Wildwood.
Oh, that's the biggest one?
St. Anne's in Wildwood, in downtown Wildwood.
I can see that.
2,200 people.
It is very large, so I can see that.
2 levels.
Yeah,
so.
it has the balconies.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to have more major events down there. But
okay.
We'll see. Yeah, okay. Thank you for agreeing with me. I appreciate that. That was very kind of you.
See what I can do.
It's funny, we were talking about Lent coming up. I just got the notice for the Chrism Mass. And I was like, man, we haven't even hit Ash Wednesday, and I'm already planning the Chrism Mass for Holy Week, or pre-Holy Week. But, Anyway, so yes, lots of great stuff going on. And that's in this diocese, but there are other wonderful things going on as well. Matter of fact, we had another great couple of days. So for those who are wondering or perhaps didn't notice, Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday are linking up this year, which...
They're hooking up?
Jennifer Mauro.
I'm sorry.
We talk about me crossing lines. They are coming together, and but here's the thing: Ash Wednesday trumps Valentine's Day. Ash Wednesday trumps Valentine's Day, and which means no, there will be no dispensations. It's just there are 2 days of the year that cannot be dispensed with in terms of your denying meat, and one of them is Ash Wednesday, and one of them is Good Friday. Those are the only 2 you can't. A bishop cannot offer a dispensation on. So anybody who's asking, don't. But what we hear in the communications department, in the Catholic Star Herald, we came up with an idea. Instead, we're going to show you how to make a festive Valentine's Day meal without meat.
That is Lent appropriate.
Lent appropriate.
Yes.
So myself and John Kalitz and Paul Worthington and Pete Sanchez went out yesterday and recorded this amazing cooking demonstration by the folks over at Giannina's. Got to thank Fidel over there, the owner and chef. He did a great job whipping up a heck of a dish. I'm not going to announce it now. The video will come out in a couple of days. But yeah. So we're looking out for you, folks, and we want you to be romantic on Ash Wednesday.
There's something you don't hear every day.
It should be a nice event.
It is. Actually, the cooking video, everybody, y'all gonna love it. I mean, I was watching the video going, I should have gone to that shoot yesterday because that looks amazing. The food looks great. The chef is so kind. I didn't meet him, but I could just tell. I spoke to one of the owners, but not him, but so kind.
Such a sweetheart. Such the nicest guy.
Yeah, so we'll give you the recipe in the video, and I mean, it doesn't take long to cook. It's about 5-10 minutes, right, to cook it.
True, and it is. We talked to the chef afterwards, and we're going to include this in the stuff as well. But it's a seafood dish. But we talked to him afterwards, and like, what could you use instead of seafood if you got a seafood allergy or something like that? So he gave us some ideas for that.
Oh, nice.
And to which I was like, yeah. And John goes, why would you have something else? Just don't put meat in it. I was like, I don't know, because you want to put a little something else in there. I don't know, maybe pork or something like that. And he turns to me, and goes, Mike, this is for Lent. I go, oh yeah, right, not pork, not pork. And I turned to him, I go, potatoes? And the chef goes, no, you're not putting potatoes in this.
No.
I was like, okay.
Vegetables.
Yeah, he came up with a whole bunch of different vegetables, like a couple of different things. But I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
So it's quick and easy to make. It's something that you would have most of the ingredients in your house, to be honest, except like the main ingredient. But if you decide to switch it out with veggies, you'd be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, if you skip the seafood, it's a great event. So it plated beautifully. He did a great job. The restaurant, Giannina's in Woodbury, could not have been kinder to us.
It was such a great idea to do that.
It was a great idea. I wish sometime the next time that the person who came up with that idea would actually give us more than 4 hours to plan it. But,
But you're professionals and you took care of it. I think maybe next time that we should do the video again. We'll come to your house and you can cook. Actually, we should do a Talking Catholic.
That was the original plan.
It was nobody's original plan.
It was John and my original plan. That was the plan, was for me to do the cooking show, and I'm still a little burnt about it, to be honest with you.
Everybody, I would like you to send...
all I want to do.
I want you to send emails if you would like to hear a Talking Catholic podcast from Mike's Kitchen.
Well, how about we do it as a video, and they can actually watch me cook?
Either one. We can do both. I feel like we can get a lot of meat out of that.
I asked the Vicar General for a sabbatical for next month. For the month of April, because there's a cooking show that is looking for submissions, but you would have to be there from April 8th to May 2nd. So I said, can I take a 1 month sabbatical? And he goes, first of all, that's called a vacation. And second of all, no. like, fine, okay, I won't go.
Aww.
One day, though, you will see me on TV cooking something.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm going to move to Great Britain for like 3 years, become a resident, and apply for the Great British Bake Off.
There's some other pretty cool ones on that you don't have to be British for.
Yeah, but that's the apex.
Oh, okay.
That's
sorry.
the best. That's the best one. Because it's funny. I was listening to a podcast today or this week about how the difference between British reality TV and American reality TV, and American reality TV relies on conflict, but British TV, it's intended to be a joyful distraction. So there's, with few exceptions, I mean, they have adopted some of our stuff for some of their shows, but but the originals were all very like positive and bringing you to something and just giving you some joy and distraction. And I'm like, I that's why I don't watch American reality TV, because I'm like, this is depressing. I don't want to see people fight with each other.
Right.
I don't. Although I heard The Golden Bachelor was real nice.
There's one that is an American cooking show, but basically they show the bakers like a flashlight, and then you have to recreate the flashlight, and then the judges have to decide if the cake is the real flashlight or the flashlight is the real flashlight.
Is it real?
Yeah.
Or no?
I don't know. I don't know what it's called, but it is cool.
Yeah. Shoot. My son has watched that. I haven't watched that.
I never saw it until about 2 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, that's definitely the cake. And then it wasn't the cake. Yeah. And also, how good these bakers were that they could make it look like that. Blew my mind.
That's my problem, is I can't do decorating. I can only bake.
Well, then,
I can do things like breads, maybe with raisins in them.
Oh, I think, well, nobody likes raisins in their bread. Unless it's like a cat face and you needed to put down like...
That's right, folks.
Yeah.
Jen and John Kalitz have asked me to create a loaf of a cat bread. I've threatened that I will bake it, but I will put actual cat in it.
Oh my gosh, stop it.
We'll see what happens. I can't promise anything.
You're terrible.
Hey, listen, I hear dead cat's tasty. So anyway.
I have 5 cats. It's embarrassing, but I do.
I know. We try not to think about it.
We just have like a moment of silence for Jen's 5 cats.
Well, like for Jen's confession. But yeah. So anyway, this was a great week. We will have guests back next week. Might even have some journalists in the near future. Mm-hmm. But because this is actually a very busy month. This month of February. So there's a lot of stuff going on. It's Black History Month. We might have some folks from our Black Catholic ministries on. So we're looking for some things to to put on. It's just was such a busy week. We didn't have any guests. So we're like, we'll just sit down and chit chat.
And yet we still, we covered a lot of ground.
We did. I don't know if anybody liked it, but we definitely covered a lot of ground.
Everybody send in your little notes to get Mike, turn Mike into a British citizen so we can enter the Great British Bake Off.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Now, for those of you who haven't already had a chance to listen to it, here's an episode of Talking Saints just for you. See you, everybody.
Hi, I'm Laurie Power, Director of Lifelong Faith Formation at Christ the Redeemer Parish, and welcome to Talking Saints. I'm here today with my co-host, Pete Sanchez, reporter for the Catholic Star Herald, and we'll be spending about 15-20 minutes talking about a particular saint and how his or her example can inspire us, because, as Pope Francis reminds us, to be saints is not a privilege for the few, but a vocation for everyone. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing well, Laurie. Happy New Year.
Yeah, that's right. We have not been in the vault in 2024. I was like, ooh, 2014. I'm going into the past. 2024.
I think, are we still in the threshold of saying Happy New Year?
Sure.
I mean, I guess I can say Happy New Year to our listeners.
Sure.
Right? We, I had the conversation with a friend of mine about, when is it proper to... Is it the first time you see them within reason? Like maybe the first month of January, if you haven't seen somebody since December, you say Happy New Year. But then I think maybe February 1st, even if you haven't seen anybody.
That's the deadline.
It's too late.
That's the cutoff.
I think so. For me, at least. I mean, obviously, but maybe here on Talking Saints we shouldn't talk that's of course we're talking about the secular New Year.
That's
maybe
right.
the Happy New Year is the beginning of Advent.
That's right.
So,
that's when we should have been saying Happy New Year.
yes, maybe that can be my. I was going to say New Year's resolution, but then that's already.
Are you going to remember by December?
Remember by December.
Right.
Gosh, Laurie. Well, I will now that I have that in my head. That's going to be a little earworm. Remember by December.
That's right.
Write that down. But no, we're going to kick off this year with the fantastic saint. I think who do you want to just tell
Sure,
people?
Saint Angela Merici.
Yes.
So she's kind of a saint that I've heard her name mentioned, and she seems like a really strong female saint, but I didn't know a whole lot about her. So I'm glad we get to talk about her today.
Same here. I think my goddaughter was actually named after her.
Ooh,
that was one of the names. My goddaughter Angela. Shout out Angela. Proud of you. I don't know if you're listening. But the it would again. It's a delight to really explore further somebody who I had heard about, but learn and get so much goodness out of this 16th century life.
Yes.
So, where did she grow up, Laurie?
So she was Italian. She was born in 1474 in the town of Desenzano, which is in northern Italy. And apparently her parents were faith-filled and virtuous people that were raising their children in the faith. And apparently the father of the family would gather all of the children and read from a book called The Golden Legend, which was the lives of the saints. Yeah. So she really loved hearing the stories of the saints and wanted to imitate them. So that was sort of her motivation. And she really fell in love with Jesus from a very young age, it seems like. And he was calling her to do some really great things for him, which we'll talk about momentarily. Yeah. She's even having visions. Like most people, they have to discern and pray and ask God, what do you want me to do with my life? He was just showing her. So
no, and I think one of the first visions came from a really, really horrible, after a horrible moment.
Was a tragedy.
So she lost her parents and was it her younger sister? Older sister? I'm
not sure, but one of her sister. Yeah.
Beloved sister.
There we go.
Beloved sister.
When she was only a teenager, right? She was pretty young.
I think, yeah.
Maybe even younger than that.
So they were still, Angela she had a brother, but she he doesn't really factor into the equation. But what legend tells us is that she was working out in the field one time because she grew up a farm girl, lived a very joyful, contemplative early childhood, with the love of the saints. So her family really understood the importance of the faith. But Angela, after her family died, particularly her sister, because I think there's a question whether or not the sister received last rites.
Right, they weren't. Yeah, she was concerned.
And I mean, that's just the mark of somebody who's very, concerned about and the love and, somebody's soul and concerned about his sister's soul. But then she was working in the field, and legend has it she saw a vision of angels, and she saw her sister in heaven. And that was kind of the moment where it's like, okay, my sister's all right. And there's a nice little sweet. Was there a ladder, or was that vision ladder came? Or maybe that came later. A vision of a ladder. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. So what did she? I think then because of this, did she become a third order Franciscan?
I think a couple years passed. So she went and she lived with her uncle, who apparently was also very virtuous.
In Sallow?
Yes.
Right, yeah.
And then her uncle passed away, and she was around the age of 22. She moved back, I believe, to Desenzano. And then she joined, the Third Order Franciscans.
Yeah. And then this is when she started living a more austere life. Was that the word?
Well, she wanted to imitate St. Francis. As closely as she could.
She slept on a block of wood, allegedly, lived on bread and water and maybe a few vegetables. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know about
maybe
the block.
We're not called to do that right now.
No, exactly. No, she was, and God bless her. And then I think at this time, too, she began seeing more closely the world around her. It was in Italy, it was a very chaotic time, and there was a lot going on, and there was uneducated, and there was the poor, and her heart was bubbling up for them. And this is when she began teaching she began teaching the young and uneducated women. Actually, some of them were prostitutes, and she began helping the poor, and she received so much renown that I think other people from other towns were saying, can you do this where we are? And so that's what she started doing.
And I think she was confirmed in that, because you're right. There was another vision with a ladder where there were young girls sort of climbing a ladder that was ascending to heaven. Okay. And she felt like that was God calling her to teach young girls and to form them on how to live a holy life. So then she came, to her hometown and could see, well, there's a need, because these young women didn't know the faith and weren't living virtuous lives. So she and apparently other single women began to join her in this work, and it would grow. And then, even people from other cities thought, oh, she's got something good going there.
Yeah, she had really a lot of faith, devotion, and dedication to her ministry, and to be able to have that charisma too, to bring others to see. They saw the joy that she had, and they were like, well, I want to be able to do that too and use my gifts at the service of the church.
I think that's also a sign of that this was God's work, that he was inspiring her to do that when others join and see, okay, this is something that God wants.
It confirmed her more.
Yes.
Then there was an incident in the Holy Land. Should we talk about that? Or?
We can. Well, it's sometimes considered maybe legend. We're not sure. But let's tell that story.
Well, she was going to the Holy Land. I think she went with a group. Maybe
apparently it was quite a trip to be able to travel from Italy. Like it was a harrowing
time, probably by ship.
Yes,
I imagine,
right.
And those were long.
Yes,
we've heard saints, and I think we've talked about saints and their ship journeys, and that's a pilgrimage really to the Holy Land.
It wasn't a vacation for sure.
No, but then when she got to the Holy Land, legend has it that she was struck blind, and that was just, but then also, I don't know how much time had passed, but so she still, they didn't turn back. She kept going on the pilgrimage blind, and she went to all these sites, and they say that the research says that she could see these sites in her head, or like the Spirit guided her to see these, the holy images, or, icons.
The holy places.
But then in front of the crucifix, it is said, she was put in front of the crucifix and her sight came back. So that's pretty amazing.
She literally walked by faith, not by sight.
Amen. Is that what we're all called? Blind faith?
I guess so, yeah. Well, not blind faith, because it's reasonable to have faith, but I think I would have stopped the pilgrimage. I'm like, oh, I can't see any of the sights, but she persevered, right?
Well, and I guess she didn't want to miss out, and I like that, she walked by faith, not by sight. I did not think about that, Lord. Wow. No, but and then it was at this time, I forget who was the Pope, because she had got an audience with the Pope.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
this was like such an influential visit. So she goes blind, regains her eyesight, then is like,
That
I
must
gotta
have
see
been
the
a
Pope.
different trip. She must have been
really?
she must have been in Rome, right? At that
That's
point?
right. Oh, I thought.
Or was he in the
no,
Holy- no, he wouldn't have been in the Holy
Maybe it
Land,
was
so.
in Rome. So yeah. So she
Apparently she became so well renowned that the Pope was open to receiving
knew
her
about her.
because he
Exactly.
knew about
Yeah.
her. Yeah. So,
and then what happened when she saw the Pope? Okay, I think with the Pope, basically because she'd been doing this work, and she
Right.
said, she asked permission to establish a society of young women for Christian instruction for the young and to help
Okay.
the sick. And I think even the
which
Pope,
is what she was already doing, but she wanted to
was.
formalize it, right? So that
Exactly.
other women could join her.
I
Yeah.
guess, kind of as well wanted to. Maybe she was having doubts and just wanted to say, well, if the Pope approves,
Then
this
that's
is for
God's
me.
will, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But then I think, from what I understand, the Pope wanted her to do it in Rome. He wanted her to do it in Rome, and she said,
She's like,
no,
I want to go back to.
Brescia. And,
Yeah.
and the Pope gave her his blessing, and she returned to continue the work. And this was unlike. So I think for women, maybe Laura, you can. I believe that. So women at that time, there were only two states of life. There was the religious life, where you became a nun, religious, or you got married.
Correct.
There wasn't
Those
a
were the
middle
options.
ground.
And it would be like a cloistered convent. So not
Yes.
the sisters we know would be out in active ministry today. That was not the case then. So
Yeah.
this was something unique she was doing at that time.
Yeah, and she wanted to, I think, start like an order. Did she start like a rule?
Yes. So yeah, that's what you would need. The Pope would say, if I'm going to approve this, you would need a rule to live by. So I believe she wrote the rule, and she actually put I guess you could call it, I don't know if you'd call it a community, the company of Saint Ursula. So she put all these women under the patronage of Saint Ursula. And the company of Saint Ursula still exists today, which is amazing,
Yeah.
as a secular institute. So women who are consecrated to God but live out in the world and serve.
Yeah. And it's important. Saint Aunt Ursula is the patroness of learning,
Yes.
and that was a big deal.
Yeah, school age girls. Yeah.
And then too, like so these I shouldn't call them sisters. These young women, the society of young women, they were still living in their own homes. Correct.
Right,
Like there was
yes.
still, so they still had that secular.
But we're living
way.
by a particular rule, which would probably
Exactly, yeah.
include certain prayers or certain practices.
And they were still
throughout the
meeting
day.
and gathering and
Right.
together. So they weren't doing the work in solitude. They were still gathering as a society. And so they were called the Ursulines. And then on November 25th, 1535, I think this point she was about 60 years old. She and 28 others consecrated themselves to the service of God to do this mission. And that moment in time does mark the founding of the Ursuline Order, which was the first teaching order for young women. And I think now it's branched off a bit, right?
Yeah. So there is also a group of nuns called the Order of Saint Ursula, who I believe Saint Charles Borromeo was involved with establishing them. So they were more monastic and living in a convent, but still taking the patronage of Saint Ursula. And they all look back to Saint Angela Merici as their founder. So I'm not sure if they are still around today, but I know the company of Saint Ursula is. So she definitely had long-reaching impact in the church and in the world.
I saw that there were about more than 20,000 sisters or
Interesting,
maybe
of
secular,
women that are part of this secular
still
institute.
today.
But it wasn't until, it's interesting, so she did consecrate herself with these women to the company of Saint Ursula, but the papal bull that approved the rule that they had written wasn't approved until 4 years after her death. So that was in 1544 when Pope Paul III approved the rule. So she didn't get to see that, but they were already living the life, and you can see the fruits of what she had founded, that even God's vision for her was coming to fruition before she died. So it's pretty amazing.
And I couldn't find anything about when she died, or no, she died in 1540. Mm-hmm. And
apparently it was
Sorry
like
about
just a very simple death. She just died in the bedroom of the home where she was living at the time. It wasn't dramatic.
Yeah, but she was clothed in the habit
That's
of
right,
the
when she was
Franciscan
buried.
tertiary.
Yes, that's right.
She was still a third order Franciscan.
Mm-hmm.
So can you explain that a bit? What does that mean, like third order? How is that different from being
They wouldn't be part of the Franciscan community and live in community the way the Franciscan friars and the nuns would be. So she was out in the world and able to serve there, but still following the example of St. Francis and giving herself to God.
kind of like what she was doing as an Ursuline?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I guess her mission was unique. Maybe the Third Order, they didn't have a particular apostolate, so this is something that she took on and made it something new.
Yeah.
To fulfill a need and fulfill God's vision for her.
And that's
for sure.
She saw it all. Like she saw the some of us might not be called to religious life or married life or but I think it's good to understand that God always knows where we need to be. And we need to follow that gift. And maybe we don't need to go to the Holy Land and be struck blind. I would hope not, honestly. But if it's God's will, it's God's will. Or maybe not even have an audience with the Pope. But, I mean, that's the thing. I think she was... What I appreciate about St. Angela is that there was a curiosity and a search there. I mean, she didn't have all the answers. From the very beginning, she had questions about her sister in heaven, and she had questions about her vocation. So I like that. I like that she was, for me at least, it's nice to know that these saints in life had these questions.
That's true.
It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows all the time. I mean, but we know
that's
that.
a lot of suffering, losing her parents and her sister.
Exactly.
Before she was even 20 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she was canonized by Pope Pius the Seventh, I think 1807. So, do we know what she's the patron saint of?
Yes, she is the patron of sickness, those who have lost their parents, and disabled, or those with physically challenged people. Which I'm not sure why that is, but they've taken her as patron. So
maybe with her blindness in some way.
Oh, there we go.
I'm just
you're probably
postulating.
right. That would make sense. Yeah, and I think part of the lesson in her life is that she was taking care of the people who were in front of her.
Exactly.
She saw the need. She saw
Yes.
the people that were the young girls that needed her care and needed to be educated, and she fulfilled that need. So even if we don't all start a religious community or a movement, we can still take care of the people that are in front of us in our own families or in our own apostolates.
Yeah, maybe she taught the Pope a lesson. The Pope wanted her to come to Rome and is like, no, I don't have to do it in Rome. I can do it in my backyard.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it's really, who was it? Was it St. Teresa who said do small, or was it maybe the little flower, do small things with great love?
That would fit either one of them, actually.
Yeah. No, I think it was either St. Teresa or St. Therese. And I apologize to you up in heaven, whoever
They don't mind,
it was.
I'm sure.
But I think that's, it's the idea of we don't need to worry ourselves about doing the grand gestures. We do what we can with what we have to the people around us.
True.
Thank you, Laurie. Thanks for that reminder.
Sure. Shall we ask St. Angela to pray for us too? To do that?
I'd love it as we kick off this year. Yeah.
All right. St. Angela, you fell in love with God at a young age and deepened that love even through hard times. After losing members of your beloved family, God gave you new spiritual children to care for as a spiritual mother. You embraced that calling, and much good fruit was born in the church. Please pray for us that we may learn from your example by caring for those whom God has placed in our lives and devoting ourselves to serving them in accord with God's perfect will. St. Angela Merici.
Pray for us.